Hey there, my name is MotorMouthMann. I'm going to try to get through this as soon as possible, but I'm a Gangplank main, and you can check my channel for some more, affirmation of that. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the Gangplank Rework. I'm just going to talk about some thoughts. I've had a day, or about a day and a half, 2 days to digest this and play it a little bit, and I just wanted to give my thoughts about it. We're going to start off with just the kit, and not the kit, but the overall design of the champion. I think people really kind of put that by the wayside. They say, oh, GP looks badass, but they don't really appreciate just how well that Riot took this champion and made him something more special. I think some people have been talking about how they don't like how he's less jolly and less like fun and stuff. But honestly, I think the main point of this is they made him look more like a pirate king and they made him act more like a pirate king. He's got more how do you say? I would just say oomph behind his position. He's not just kind of a pirate anymore. He's the pirate goddamn king. He's not Luffy. He's this motherfucker right here. He's really friggin' strong. He's torturing a guy right here. I just think overall, a lot of the design decisions they made were nice. They made the gun bigger. It's a little more goofy. They made the sword. They made the run animations. The animations in general are very nice. I love overall the way the kit looks. I like the way the spells. They're just I can't even. I'm stumbling over my words because I just love everything they did. They made everything so much better. And I really applaud Riot's ability to keep his overall identity, but just make everything more clear and more interesting to look at. I mean, honestly, before, the way the Q interacted, the way your W looked, the way your spells looked, it was a little mediocre. I loved him anyway, but this just puts him over the edge, and I just love it. People are going to love playing this champion, and all in all, he's just more fun to play and look at. I mean, look at some of this stuff. It's just ridiculous. Anybody who's telling me that he's not as jolly before, I'm saying you're missing the point, really. He's like, how do you not look at Sailor and see people are saying, oh, I don't like Sailor and I don't like Toy Soldier. Well, I understand Toy Soldier, but look at Sailor. He looks like Popeye. How you gonna hate that? How you gonna think the skin's not the jam? And personally, my skin got buffed, so that's nice. Most of these skins just got better, which I love, except for Spooky that does not have the particles on it anymore, which I'm very sad about. But all in all, I think they did a fantastic job, and I just want to applaud Riot for that because of the way they made everything just cooler, but at the same time not overly, grim dark. Like, he's not from Zon. He's still from Bilgewater, and he's a fucking pirate king. That's just what it is. I love the rework in terms of the kit and the way he looks. Just leave that as it is. So I'll try to get through the actual kit discussion as fast as I can here. So we'll just do that now. So when it comes to what Riot says, I think they're pretty much right. I think the difficulty might be a little lower because GP's very forgiving now. But what stays true about GP is that he is a fighter, and he's a bruiser, and that's what he is. So let's go into what changed, and then we'll go into some notes I have about everything. We'll start with the spells. Passive. We'll just go through each spell, and I'll just give you some thoughts up front, and then we'll talk about it from there. For the passive is far superior to the old passive because it scales better. Simple thing is now that it's true damage and that it interacts with your E, it is far, far better. Like anybody who tells me they miss GP's passive because of the all-ins level 1, I just have to say to you that you're missing the point. They moved the slow to his E, and even though you don't have the slow on your passive anymore for those sick level 1 kills, man, you still have the ability to build slows. Frozen Mallet is now better. Gauntlet is now even more important, and you have the ability to build slows on hit. So I don't know why anybody is bitching because this passive, his old passive, was straight up bad. It was just bad. It was good for a very small portion of the game, early to mid game, and then it was mediocre later. Unless you're going AP, which is a totally different story overall because of how Leandry's went with Runeglaive. But overall, new passive, amazing. Far superior to the old passive. The key component to a new playstyle is Bruiser with some builds. This allows you to go in and deal more damage when you get melee range with the passive and auto attacks. So with the way it scales with AD and the fact that it scales by level also, and then you can proc it on his E, it's fantastic. New passive, amazing. So A+ to that. Fantastic. Parlay. Basically the same exact spell, but the big change to it was the flat mana cost. Before, the cost went from 50 to 70, and you might still get the mana refund, but they also just made it so that the farming with Q is much more important because of the Silver Serpent mechanic. So when all is said and done, they just made this spell a definitely max this first, which I kind of think was smart because before it was kind of just like, oh, max whatever you want, do whatever you want on GP, just pick whatever, who cares, just, it's the same shit regardless. Now it's max the Q. It is better, it gets better, and once you have a little bit of mono regen, or you get some farm going, the mana cost refund compared with his E just let you do a lot very early and very often. I just think it's a fantastic, a small buff, but a fantastic one. So, not to mention with the Silver Serpent mechanic, which lets you upgrade your ultimate, this is important. Parlay has become more important. You can't max W and then E like you could before. You can, but this is still what you want first. You'll probably be lackluster if you don't do that. So max this first no matter where you're at. Jungle, support, doesn't matter. This is the spell. This is the new spell, as it should be, because that's the bread and butter. Citrus, I think the W people are really missing the point here. I think it's actually better in a lot of ways. The main reason is that they made it more of a one-point wonder, and people are just going, well, it has percentage of max health. Percentage of missing health with it now, so you don't have to max it anymore. All you have to do is take one rank because the AP scaling is still there and the percent health is still there. I think you're missing the point. I think the point of this spell is actually to get one, because I'll just fast forward a little bit here, but CDR is more important on Gangplank now. Cooldown reduction is more important because you need more parlays, you need more ultimates, because the ultimate's cooldown is ridiculously long now. It's 120 seconds at the max rank, which is silly long. Like, that's really long. So you really want CDR, because the ultimate is actually extremely important for team fighting, but we'll get to that later. People are missing the point that CDR being more crucial means this spell actually becomes more crucial. I think Riot made it so QWE is the way to go, because E is such a fantastic one-point wonder, but people are missing the point with the W because they just think, oh my goodness, it's like a one-point wonder now. I think it's better by default because maxing E actually doesn't have any big returns. You'd think it did, because the slow gets increased, the damage to champions gets increased. It's the ammo recharge gets increased, the scaling with it. But all in all, I think E is a better one-point wonder than W. I think the one-point wonder from barrels is better because it scales with the damage you deal on Q. So no matter what you're doing, you're maxing Q. But Q, when you max it, increases the damage the barrels deal, because when you burst them, it's basically just like a big AoE Q. So, with that said, W max second actually does better, because even though the base heal is lower now, it's like not as much, the fact that the cooldown goes down is important. Because before, you would have 18 seconds was the max rank. Now with 17 seconds at max rank and some CDR, you can get it down to about 9 seconds, roughly. I don't know, that I didn't do the math actually, so I'm not sure on that. But having 9 seconds on this spell, with how great it is for just staying in a fight with the new buffs, are actually super important. That's going to tie into items later, but the mana cost is the main thing that I actually don't like. I don't like how the mana cost is massive, but I do understand it. I understand why Riot did this, and it actually means that mana regen has become more important, which we'll get into later with items, like Essence Reaver is the main reason. But, fantastic second spell. They buffed it overall, even though they changed it so it wasn't as OP. Like, if they didn't decrease the mana cost, it would have been OP, because 65 flat mana for this spell would have been silly, just because of how much it gives you. The thing that's also really good about this spell, the fact that they added the percent max health, I keep killing max. Percent missing health, massive jungle buff. Massive jungle buff. The lower you are in the jungle, the more this heals you. So being in the jungle and getting 2 ranks of this means you basically never have to leave the jungle as long as you've got the mana to keep casting shit. With Runeglaive, insanely strong. It's still got a 1.0 AP ratio. You get Runeglaive will make this spell friggin' awesome. So all you need is 2 ranks of this spell in Runeglaive, and you are now permanently in the jungle, no problem. Massive jungle buff, folks. Don't worry about it. Not only that, but barrels, as we'll move on now. Replacing for the E. Overall, amazing spell. I love what Riot did. I love something more. The thing I love most about this spell is it's actually deniable. I like when Riot introduces mechanics where the enemy champion or the enemy players have windows of opportunity to fight back against you as a champion. That's part of the reason I think Rumble is really well designed, in that he has short cooldowns, but if he uses too many spells too quickly, he gets silenced. So now he can't cast anything. And he also gets on hit. So basically he turns into this, if you use your spells correctly and you use your overheat and everything, he goes in and he has to trade, but he also silences himself. So if you catch him with his pants down and he silences himself trying to get away or trying to go in a bad situation, you can now punish him for the mistake. This spell is the same. It's fantastic as a farming spell, but it's actually really mediocre as a team fighting spell. Riot says on their page that they want him to team fight with barrels and things, like you just want to see, here we go. Like, they say they want him to split push more, and his E is a fantastic split push spell. It's a farming spell. It's a split push spell. That's not to debate. But all in all, his E is actually a mediocre team fighting spell now. Before, I think actually Raise Morale is a better team fighting spell just because of how basic it is and how simple it is. I.e., I give my team stats and some movement speed. Simple as that. But now, Riot says like getting off barrels is like really good, but they're so easily deniable it's ridiculous. So in a team fight, it's actually better to have something like Gauntlet or something like that to use utility wise. I'm trying to get things going quicker because I'm almost at 10 minutes now, and I just want to make this faster. But overall, I think this is a great 1-point wonder spell. I think it's a fantastic spell overall. Like, I love it as a farm spell. It just basically gave GP the ability to farm easier. And one thing that I actually look at where I say Riot's actually kind of missing the point here is they say, oh, we saw people love to go Shiv and Tiamat and stuff and get the AoE damage, so we gave them a spell to do that. The thing that's actually bad about that is by itself, the spell helps you farm. So actually getting things like Hydra and Tiamat and Shiv is actually a little mediocre because it's counterproductive. You already have an AoE spell. Why do you need to stack AoE? It's like going AoE. It'd be like going something AoE and a champion with nothing but AoE. I'm not going to go AoE damage items on somebody like Maokai because, well, he's a mage. But I'm not going to go AoE damage on somebody like, let's say, Darius, because he already has a great AoE spell. He has his Q. And with that, he can clear waves extremely quickly. You might want to go Hydra. But aside from that, I'm not going to go Hydra and Shiv and Gauntlet on Darius or somebody because I don't need the AoE damage in a big way. I mainly want to use my farm to get my single target damage up so I can murder people a little easier. I think that's going to require testing. I could be wrong about that, but my gut instinct tells me that, like, Gangplank, which is something I used to do, which was basically all AoE damage items, you would go Hydra, Shiv, Gauntlet, and then Cleaver, so you could just get Armor Pen. I think that's going to be a good build, but I don't think it's going to be the be-all, end-all, because if that was the case, if this spell wasn't so easily deniable, that would be the case, but it's not. So it's very easy to stop this in a team fight. Cannon Barrage stayed pretty much exactly the same, but the problem is, I think people are missing the point of the upgrades. Like, if you look at the new upgrade items, when you have your ultimate, they say, oh, Raise Morale's really crappy. Oh, what else is bad? Like, they say, Raise Morale's crappy. You really want to go, like the true damage one. I go, you're missing the point. The ultimate is a team fighting ultimate. It is not reliable for the damage. If you think this item is like, I mean, if you think this spell is about, oh, you can just, team fight with it. I mean, you can just deal damage with it. You're missing the point. The true damage on the ultimate is actually super mediocre because this spell is incredibly easy to dodge. Even though you get the slow now, which they increase the slow, it doesn't say here, I didn't write it down, but it's a 40% slow now, massive buff. But the damage component, when you upgrade it with the silver serpents, you don't want to actually go the true damage one first. You want to use this for team fighting. By the time you actually have your silver serpents farmed up, and I think Riot's going to change it because it's 500 right now, by the time you actually have that farmed up, team fights have begun. You should be team fighting. You should just be sitting top lane split pushing because GP is actually a fantastic team fighter despite the fact that his E is a mediocre team fighting spell. His ultimate is still good, his Q is still good, and his W is still good, not to mention his passive. He's an amazing team fighter still. This is not changed. This is the thing I like is that they kept his identity as he can team fight, he can split push, he can duel a little bit more now, and he's solo and he's with the team. He's a lot like Jason that way. In that, not only is he good by himself, he's fantastic with the team. You have to have that in mind. So, all in all, I think, like I said, people are missing the point. I think the Raise Morale upgrade is very good, and in some situations, you actually might want to take that first. Because with the new slow, right with 40%, right when you use it, it's now a legitimate engage ultimate. That's the main thing that's changed. And if you use it on the enemy team and just get that slow on them, it now slows them for 2 seconds with each wave, rather than just having them slowed by being in the radius. So if you drop the ult on them, it's a 40% slow. It's a little bit like Rumble Ultimate, but slightly better, just because of the fact that now you give your team a speed boost when they move through it. It's a little bit like Azir's ult. Not only does it give you some engage potential, it gives your team a speed boost while they're running through it. So it just becomes this utility spell that's going to be fantastic. I mean, look at Sivir. Add Sivir to this, it's amazing. I think it's very good. I think the true damage component is nice, but I think the extra shots per wave and Raise Morale upgrade to the ultimate are fantastic. The main problem with this is that, not even a problem, just the main thing you want to consider with this is the cooldown is now higher. It is now 120 at max rank, so it's a very high cooldown. So you definitely want more CDR early. That's the main thing that's changed. CDR has become more important because Cannon Barrage is still good, but is now extremely long cooldown. Like, it's even longer. This is what the cooldown is at the first rank, I think. So CDR is more important, and AP still viable, but not great. Let's move on to the other one. Just talk about some notes here. Just mainly wanted some things to consider. Overall summary: you get a farming spell, you get easier Q use because of the better base damage, and with your passive and with the mana cost reduction. Scaling ultimate mechanic needs changes because the 500 silver serpents to having 500 silver serpents to actually get the farming item is way too high. You're going to get maybe 2 of them per game because Riot kind of overestimated how much you're going to farm with the Q. Unless you use QE every time, and it will work. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm underestimating just how easy it is to farm it up. But from what I play tested and what I saw people play testing, it's extremely hard to actually get all the Silver Serpents you need to upgrade your ultimate more than once. Most people in a normal game are getting about one upgrade. So I think if they just decrease that from 500 to 300 or 400, that'll make more sense. I think 400 is a good number. Maybe 350, 450, or 400. I think 400 is the sweet spot. I think that's a lot better because it will make people kind of upgrade their ultimate easier. GP loses his passive slow magic dot, his massive base heal on W. It's now more of a scaling heal with percent missing health, and still has 1.0 AP ratio. Manageable mana cost on W. It now goes up to 100 mana, which is pretty ridiculous. Flat MS AD steroid with his E, and Teamfight MS boost outside of your ultimate. You lose. It looks like a lot, but it's not because they gave him a ton. So that's not really a big thing. I'm just putting that down for consistency's sake, just to show you guys what is lost, like what's gone. With spells, I think, like I said earlier, I think W is a better thing to max because E is such a fantastic one-point wonder. Both W and E are fantastic one-point wonders, but neither of them are really better than the other, in the sense that not maxing E isn't going to handicap your damage. You're still going to deal lots of damage. You're still going to have a 60%, whatever the percentage slow is on the champions. Like, see, the slow is still going to be 40%. That's still really strong. 80% seems like it will be more strong, and that's nice, but all in all, it's not amazing because the barrels are so easily deniable, and they take time to get shot, and they take time to set up. So, like I said, they're more easily deniable. I'd rather have the W. You can buy something like Gauntlet and have all the souls you want, so that's not a big problem. I just have a little summary here. Proxy passive in an AoE is a fantastic one-point wonder, just like W. Can max what you like, but honestly, I believe new W is far superior. Well, I think it's better than people think. I don't think it's a one-point wonder anymore. I think it's good to max because of the reduced cooldown and the fact that it lets you stay in a fight longer and stay on the map longer. Farm is prioritized, so staying on the map with sustain, super important. So I think W. You could do QW. You could do QEW, though. The main thing that's changed, Q always gets max first now. Before, you could say, well, let me not take any ranks of Q. Always max this first. No exceptions. It's amazing. You need the farm. You need the damage. You need all of it. When it comes to role changes, each role, top buffed, but he still struggles with the same matchups. I think people are going to think, oh, GP can kind of deal with his matchups now because he has AoE clear. That's not really true. Aurelia is still going to shit on you. Riven's still going to shit on you. Cho's going to be good versus you. AoE champions are going to nail your barrels, so you're not going to be able to AoE farm that easily. Nara's still going to beat you. Jace is still going to beat you. All these champions are still going to beat you. Because GP has trouble with a lot of champions, and like Pantheon is still going to beat you. These all these champions that can still beat you. So top got buffed because you can now clear waves, and GP got buffed in general with this rework, but he still has the same problems. This is kind of what I like about the rework too, is it didn't like make him super easy. It's not like super easy to deal with bad matchups. You're still going to lose to Pantheon naturally, especially early in the game when he has more harass than you and you don't have your mana pool up yet and all that stuff. Mid, massive buff. The ability to wave clear, even though it's very easy to deny the barrels if you play it right, the ability to wave clear under tower, the ability to quickly clear the wave and push when the enemy mid is either not in the lane or like ganking, extremely huge buff. So mid GP, now viable. I think it was decent before, but now it's actually very good because of your ability to quickly clear waves. Just the ability to get to mid game faster is very important for mid laners, and the ability to clear the wave is extremely important. So extremely big buff for mid GP. In the jungle, just as much buffed almost more than mid lane because of how good the new W and E are for clearing the early jungle. You start E, you use it to kill the jungle creeps. You use it with your passive. It procs the true damage. You can burst them easier. You can set barrels up and then walk around the corner and then come in and start by using your exploded cask on the jungle camp. You can use it as a control thing. You can use it to kill the dragon. Oh, it's amazing. Not to mention that, but the missing heal mechanic on your missing health mechanic on your W now makes your early clear a breeze. So with these two new spells, clearing the jungle is easy as hell, and GP is going to be a viable jungler. I think he's going to be relatively top tier because of how great he synergizes with Runeglaive, how great he synergizes with Warrior. He can go Cinderhulk if he needs to. He's going to be like a little bit like Nunu, with less objective control and more ability to get farmed up from the jungle and just be a utility champion for the team. Because in the jungle you can't really farm up your silver serpents that easily because the farm is kind of mediocre. But you can do a lot of ganking. The best thing about this is since the clear speed got buffed with the barrels and the W, and your ability to stay in the jungle got buffed, now Blue Smite and Red Smite are back on the table. Before, a lot of people go on Trailblazer. Now the new jungle smites are just Blue and Red Smite are fantastic. Just Stalkers and Skirmishers are now the go-to. You no longer need to get Trailblazer. That's the biggest thing that changes with this, which makes your early ganking potential a lot better because when combined with your E, you can now gank very well if you get the E off because if you gank and somebody tries to turn and kill your barrel because they know it's going to slow them, and they do that, the half second it took them to kill that barrel is all you need to get in and get the blue smite off. So there's much better ganking, much better clearing, much better sustain. It's all fantastic. Jungle is buffed. Support, I think, stayed the same, but the mechanics are radically different. I think it's actually going to be a little mediocre early on because of how your E, like, the barrel's not the main reason support is viable. People were saying that, oh my god, the barrels, they have the slow and they have the harass mechanic and they have AoE. GP support is still good. I think the barrels aren't the reason GP support is good. I think the reason new GP support is going to be good is because you can use the barrels for that purpose, but his Q and his W remained the same, and now you have missing health, so with the standard build, which is build a little bit of flat AD in your rune page, go face of the mountain, relic shield, tar guns early, and just try to trade, and then get into a team fight, I think it's actually going to be better because his base damage got buffed. Because basically you're going to sit back and you're going to Q all the time to farm. You're not going to last hit with your auto attacks that much. You're going to use your auto attacks to harass the enemy champions, and since now you have true damage and movement speed, it's going to be fantastic. Like I can run up to a support, I can run up to the Leona, auto attack her once, get the movement speed, get a little bit of damage because I have true damage, and then that movement speed will let me get to the AD carry, and I'll just run into her. You don't have the passive slow anymore, which is actually a pretty substantial mini nerf. I guess that's kind of a oxymoron, substantial mini nerf, but it's true that the lack of a passive, the slow on hit, is a little bit of a buff, a little bit of a nerf because now you can't catch people. And stack your slow, like early game level 1 cheese. You can catch them in the bush and then slow them and then like use the level 1. So that's a little bit of a nerf, but not a big one because you basically stay exactly the same otherwise. 80 carry, lol, it's buffed. Playing with Tom Kent, she'll be OP as fuck, don't worry about it. I would talk with that about detail. I would go into detail about that, but I don't really need to. Sorry, 1 second. Shit. But the main crux of it is all his lanes got buffed. So yeah, very good. When it comes to item priority, CDR, flat AD, and tenacity, better. Much more important. Lots. Mana regen, much more crucial to mid-game. You want to be able to use your QW and your ult as soon as they're up. You don't want to be out of mana. When I played on the PvE for the short time I was able to play, I went out of mana very quickly. I think Essence Reaver is a new item because of this. I'll talk about that later. Crit, same exact problems. Your E is so easy to deny that it's not like people going, oh my god, barrels crit, and that's fantastic. But it's not something like you're going to be able to do it for free. You're not going to be able to just get crit barrels off every fight. It's not going to happen. They're deniable. As long as people are smart, they will deny them. They get hit by auto attacks. It's very easy for anybody who's got range to just get rid of them very quickly. And you might have a lot of them come late game because you have 5 in your stock once you have your ultimate ranked. But in most team fights, they're going to get denied. You can't just throw them at the enemy and just expect them to be able to get popped right away. Because you're going to have to throw them, and you're going to have to auto attack them, and then you're going to have the enemy team not notice and then not use your thing. You have some tricks to get them off, but they're not reliable. So crit has the same problem in that it's nice and you scale with it and it's good to have, and like Shiv TF are good, but I would actually say that other items like Gauntlet are better. Things like Flat AD are better because they give you more passive damage. And all in all, I just think crit isn't the same exact spot it was before. It's good to buy when you're ahead. It's good to buy in general, but it's not some be-all, end-all. You shouldn't go full crit plank in the new build because I actually think being a little bit bruiserish and being able to run in and get your passive off and really, engage with the team is more important than just dealing a lot of poke damage. Before, GP kind of had no reason to, a lot of reasons that people built full crit is just because GP didn't get better when you went in. You maybe got an auto attack off on the AD carry and maybe got a crit, but when you get in, you don't get anything. Now you do with your passive and your E. So the ability to actually go in is now like much more crucial, and the ability to really just run into the fight and stay close and get melee range with your passive and your E is much more important, because once you get melee range, you can kind of put barrels behind people, make them make a choice. Do I want to kill the barrel? Do I want to keep running? What the fuck do I do? Going in melee range buffed. So with that said, crit slightly nerfed, tankiness slightly buffed. Being tanky and being a true blueser is important. With items, I racked my brain thinking about what's good and what's bad, but there is no way I can tell what's optimal without testing. I can't just tell you guys, oh, this is the OP item, this is the OP item. The only thing I can tell you is some items are now more viable. Cleaver is more viable. Essence Reaver just rocketed straight to the top of the viable page because CDR, AD, and mana regen are very important. Despite the fact that the Q has a reduced mana cost and a better mana refund, you still need to spam it, and you still need to cast it a lot. And despite the fact that people think, oh, well, it's no problem, you can just manage your mana. No. With the new W, with its high mana cost, Ultimate still has 100 mana cost, you really want that mana regen. You want to be able to. But I can't think of any reason to pick tier. Tier Manamune is still mediocre, even though you can cast Manamune a lot. It's super mediocre because you don't scale with the mana like a character like Rise or like Singed or anybody else who has natural mana scaling does. So, Essence Reaver is fantastic because it just gives you big flat AD, which is nice. Gives you lifesteal, which is nice. But on top of that, it gives you CDR. So it's much better to something like a Bloodthirster, which just gives you the shield. Like, compare Bloodthirster to Essence Reaver. Essence Reaver gives CDR, which is fantastic on GP now. It gives slightly less lifesteal, the same amount of AD, and mana regen. Bloodthirster gives 20% lifesteal, which is nice on paper, but is kind of mediocre because you can have all the lifesteal in the world, but usually 10-20% is all you need as long as you have Armor Pen. I think Bloodthirster is actually super mediocre. I think if it gave what it did before, which is it stacks AD, like you build it up, it would be good, but I think it's really mediocre now for just about everybody, and GP's included. I think buying that is good late game, but not as good as Essence Reaver. I think Essence Reaver is fantastic, and Essence Reaver should be on your radar. Aside from Essence Reaver, a lot of other items changed. I could make a whole video about items. I'm not going to do that. This one's already going long enough. It's 25 minutes, guys. I got to get in the PBE. My champion just got fucking reworked. It's time for some hype. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.